So great to see everybody. It's awesome to have such a good start to the week. Apologies for the wrong time on the call. If you came an hour ago, good job. You came twice. And so congratulations, you're here again. We wanted to start sending out reminders. We thought that would be helpful with a link using the app so that you just get a ping every single week and you can just click it. And so let us know if that's helpful, especially if we send you the right time. That will be extra helpful. And then you can just click it. But look for those in the future. And thanks everybody who came out an hour ago and then is back now. So we're going to do a couple announcements and then we're going to dive into the topic for the week. So announcement number one, I just thought we would start off with a win and shout out. I don't think she's here, but I wanted to do a shout out for Victoria. One of her big goals since joining Fitme was to accomplish a 5K walk. She broke her knee a couple years ago, and this past weekend she accomplished that goal. And so it's really amazing, and it's so much fun when people work towards something and accomplish it, but especially when you have a physical thing that's been an issue in the past and you work through that. That it's just really, really cool. So if you want to do she's already completed it, but a handful of people, like in the spirit of doing it together, did it with her. And if you want to do it with her, any version of a 5K, post it to the thread in the Facebook group, or at a minimum, just pop in there and tell her congrats. Because it's awesome accomplishment. And other announcements. So we've got a couple cool challenges coming up. This week, I'm going to start signups for what we're calling the Summer Shed Challenge. I thought it was funny because a lot of the other, there's a lot of people out there doing get shredded challenge. That's not really like our style, but I feel like what is our style is like shedding unwanted things in our life and things that weigh us down. And so it's a 6-day challenge. We're going to do prizes and all that fun stuff, bingo style. So exactly like we did the spring clean out challenge. So there'll be some clean out things, there'll be some nutrition things, there'll be some movement things, and you do it, you get bingo. There'll be some, like, again, cleaning out, kind of unloading of burdens, those sort of things. And if you get bingo, then you can win. And so it'll be really fun. It's a free challenge. So invite people that you think might enjoy it and can enjoy, focusing on taking care of themselves in a different kind of way. It's not like lose as much weight as possible in 6 days, because that's not good for us. But on the other hand, sometimes just getting some crap out of our environment can be super helpful for taking care of ourselves. And so that sign up starts Monday. And then you guys will see this in about 2 weeks. We're going to be starting a 10-week Fitme challenge. Now, I talked to you guys about this a couple weeks ago, and your feedback really helped shape what it is. So this challenge is going to be open and available to anyone. But if someone is not a Fitme client, then they would need to pay to join. But you as a Fitme client, this is complimentary for you. So you can just jump into this if you want to. You do not have to. But the whole concept is that you're working towards 100 Fitme plates, 50 workouts, in 10 meal prep planning weeks. So basically Sunday's meal prep. But the difference is, instead of it's us talking about it and you going to do it, we are going to do it together. So the people who are in the challenge can jump into a live meal prep session on Sundays that we'll do together. We're going to do a walking Wednesday together. We're going to do workouts on Saturdays. And so it'll be kind of a fun thing that we can do virtually together. So again, this can be something that if you have somebody who wants to see what we're about and wants to join in, they can join in. It's going to be like $297 for people who are not Fitme clients. But for you guys, part of the Fitme family, this is totally complimentary. And so if you want to jump in, if that would be helpful and motivating to you, you can sign up and jump in. And if it's not for you right now and you just want to focus on what you're doing with your coach, totally okay. But I thought it would be really fun to do together. It'd be kind of like, how sometimes it's just helpful to check the box actually when you show up, you know what I mean? As opposed to thinking, well, I'm going to go do that later. This isn't going to be like that. If you can get your butt to show up, then you will be checking the box that you're doing it, because we're going to do it together. But you can always make it up, right? So if you can't attend it live, you would just make it up and you would still get points for the challenge. And I thought this would be really cool. We're actually going to give everybody refrigerator magnets to track their progress towards 100 plates, towards 10 meal prep planning weeks and towards 50 workouts. So you can just color them in as you go, which I thought would be really fun. So watch for those two challenges coming up. And I think that's it for announcements. Um, it's a good time to have some fun this summer, I think. And so that's kind of our idea with those. And a good way to get motivation and momentum, which actually ties in perfect to today's topic, which is we titled it, I had a cheat meal and it turned into a cheat week. Did I screw up? But I think the very first thing that we're going to say together is that I often encourage people not to call things a cheat meal or a cheat day. I think we should call things a treat. So this is the very first switch that I want you to make. Sometimes it absolutely fits in to do things that feel outside of like our healthy habits. So we're working really hard at creating these really good nutrition habits, really good movement habits. And then every once in a while, it's okay 100% to step outside of that and be like, you know what? I'm having a treat today. And this is what it looks like. I'm excited about it. I'm going to have it. And so I love calling it a treat rather than a cheat, first off, because a cheat is doing something wrong. Immediately, it's telling our brain we're doing something wrong. And then we have to go back to doing something we wanted to cheat on in the first place. And to me, that's kind of a bummer. So if you're like, you wanted to cheat on it, then it's not that great. But I think taking care of ourselves and our healthy lifestyle habits and like what we're doing together in Fitme is really great, but it's still fine to have like a break and have a treat. And so that's the first swap is like, let's call it a treat. But what happens if we have a treat day? What happens to our progress? And then what happened to that treat day kind of spirals. We took a break from stuff and then we have it back. And then we thought we were going to get back to normal. And then life happens and then we don't. And then it's like more treat, more treat, more treat. And then now we're in a treat week, which doesn't feel that awesome. And we're like, crap. So first off, here is how this tends to work. When we talk about our habits, like our eating 2 Fitme plates, drinking our water, moving for 30 minutes every day, and avoiding processed junk and the extra sugars and the nonsense. If you do that 80% of the time, you are going to feel pretty good. If you're starting at never and you get to 80%, then you're probably going to see a lot of changes. You're going to feel a lot better. But 80% is sort of our kind of maintenance mode, to be honest. Like once you've made progress, if you're at 80% of the time you're doing that, and maybe one day a week doesn't look like that, you're kind of going to stay the same. You're maintaining. Like that's kind of, if you've ever seen it on social media when they talk about the 80-20 rule, that's kind of what they're talking about. Like kind of being on point, eating really well, doing all the things that we know that we should do to take care of ourselves 80% of the time, and then 20% not worrying about it. That is what I would consider to be maintenance mode. If you are trying to create change, whether that is weight loss, losing body fat, building muscle, you have a health thing that you're really proactively trying to feel different, we need to bump that up to 90%. That means 90% of the time you're doing the things, but 10% of the time you can have a break, right? So if you think about that in a course of a week and we have 7 days, I mean, I don't want to do any hour math because that's too hard for my brain right now. But like essentially we can probably have 1 or 2 meals off that are sort of like freebies, treats, whatever. So we're just not stressed about it and still be making really significant progress, by the way. And I'm not talking like Fit Me Plate inspired. I'm talking about like pizza and a couple beers, 1 time a week, not hurting your progress if you are on point the rest of the time. And I think sometimes we haven't heard that enough. All of a sudden that feels like a mess up. That feels like, oh gosh, I really screwed up. And tomorrow I'm going to have to make up for it doing 1,000 burpees, which is basically what you'd have to do, by the way. 1,000 burpees is probably the equivalent of pizza and a couple beers, which is why it's insanity to try to like exchange the two. That is just not how our bodies work. And so having a treat once a week, not going to hurt your progress. You're still in that 90%. So let's talk about like what happens if our treat week turns into our treat day, turns into a treat week. Whoops. You know what happens? Nothing. If you get back to business, nothing, truly nothing. What happens is you probably don't feel that great. You might feel bloated. You might feel inflamed. You might feel like, oh crap, if I get on the scale, it's going to be up 4 or 5 pounds. But guess what? You didn't gain 4 or 5 pounds in a week. Not possible. It's actually not possible. If you guys figure out how to gain 4 or 5 pounds in a week, real pounds, I need you to tell me immediately, because I want to patent that and sell it to all the bodybuilders who will pay us so much money. And we'll tell them we figured it out. We figured out how to gain 4 or 5 pounds in a week of actual body mass, and they will pay us a fortune, because that is what they're trying to do when they're paying all that money for supplements. They're trying to gain weight, but it's not physically possible for our body to put on 4 or 5 pounds in a week. We can, however, and you may have observed, put on 4 to 5 pounds of bloat, inflammation, and water weight. That is totally possible. And now if 1 week turns into multiple weeks, well, yeah, now we're talking about something different. Now your body is getting too much consistently. You're not doing the thing. So if you're there, then yes, you can start to gain weight. But oftentimes when we have 1 day off, we get really pissed at ourselves, especially if we're someone who likes the all or nothing. And you like, I went into this thinking I was just going to have one meal, and it turned into a day, and then it turned into a week. So now I'm screwed up because my plan was this and it didn't work out. And that black or white thinking starts to get us. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you, if you can just get right back to it as soon as possible, you're going to be okay. And listen, at the end of the day, there's no other option. What if a cheat day turns into a cheat week? Well, you still got to get back to it. And I think that's the truth of it. The truth of it is, what do you need to do to get back to it? Everybody is different, but here's a couple of ways. And this is what I wanted to give you, some practical. I wanted you to first understand from a body standpoint, what's required to see progress. 90% consistency is required typically. 80% is a good place to start, but then 90%. But then what happens if we have a day off? Nothing. If you're on point 30 days, if you're on point 29, 1 day off, no big deal. What happens if you have a week that just goes sideways? If you can get back to it, that's the name of the game, and you're going to get back to it. So here's how. Personally, me, starts with sweat. If I find things are kind of spiraling and all of a sudden I've got that sweet tooth, I can't kick it anymore, I'm feeling super snacky, I've let myself have too much, I'm out of my groove, one of the things that fires me back into like on track is a sweaty workout. It's just me. That helps, because all of a sudden, as soon as that sweaty workout's done, I feel like, all right, let's get some water. Let's make a quality meal. And I'm kicked into gear. For other people, it might be getting rid of the thing that was the treat. I was having a chat with somebody on a coaching call last week, and one of her wins from last month was that she had a treat and it was really fun, but then she sent it all with the people who came to her house. They took it all home with them. And so she got to enjoy it, but then it was gone. So maybe if you find yourself and it started to turn into a couple of days and that stuff is still in your house, it's got to go. It's got to go. That's one of our basics that we talk about, at the very beginning in Fitme, is if we don't want it in our house on our worst day, let's get rid of it. And so again, do a check on your environment. Are you surrounded by the stuff that's kind of like making it difficult? And then last but not least, tag a buddy, reach out to your coach. This is not a place where anyone in Fitme is going to judge you for having it turn into a day, a week, or whatever. If anything, that's exactly what we're here for, is to help you get back on track. But you may have that mindset of like, I don't want to tell my coach because they're going to be disappointed in me. I wanted to tell them that I crushed it. That's not what this is for. And having an accountability buddy also can be someone where you're like, hey, I just need you to know tomorrow I'm back on track. Like, it went from 1 day to 2 to 5. And now I just need you to know this, and just know that that is such an effective tool. And it's a tool. It's something that you can use. So I kind of want to open this up for discussion, talking about, one, we can talk about treats, how they fit into our progress. And two, what if a treat turns into a treat week and we have trouble getting back to it? I would love to hear things that are helpful for you or things that maybe are challenging for you that we can discuss together. Anybody?
I 100% just had a treat week and a half. And I try to look at it from a learning perspective. And it wasn't that I was just eating a bunch of crap all day long. It was more like I've been gardening more, I've been mowing, I've been like doing all these things. And so I've been exerting more energy, but not eating enough. So at nighttime, I've just been sugaring out. And I know it's because I'm tired. I didn't feel myself. I have like extra movement, all these things. I didn't really catch it until like a week and a half when I woke up like completely inflamed, just feeling like crap, like blah, 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 blah. And my husband did go to a farm stand slash bakery, cookies, sticky buns, the whole thing. And so I also dumped everything in the trash. But it did take me a week and a half to think about do that.
Mm-hmm. It's so nice to hear that from one of our coaches that like we're not, you're definitely not alone if you struggle with this or if like the delicious treats of summer end up being something that is, tricky to navigate. But I like what you said, Leah, about that you were not really feeding yourself the quality food that you're used to. And so then that also leads to more of like the snacking and the sugar cravings. Because sometimes we overlook that. We're all of a sudden we start to fixate on like, why am I snacking on so much sugar? Like, why am I still grazing on this? And we were like, oh, I didn't even eat lunch. Try to eat a Fitme plate and then see how like sugary foods are a little less attractive because your body is full.
And that's kind of like, I mean, it took a week and a half and it took nights of like, oh my God, I wasn't going to eat that, but I did, whatever. But it took it a week and a half. And when I finally realized it, I just am like, okay, don't get like all balled up in this and don't get like, beat yourself up. Just like, think about what your past week and a half looked like, learn from it and move on.
Yes. Well, in the other thing that you said that I think is an important takeaway is when you have a thing, and again, we're not cheating. You can choose to have cinnamon buns from a farmer stand and call it a treat and enjoy it. You can have a vacation with your family and just decide to enjoy it and not stress it. So you can look at it two ways. One, obviously you want to get back to business, but you can look at it as, oh, I failed or I like screwed up I've been screwing up for the past couple weeks. Or like Leah said, you could use that as a learning experience. If you've been eating really clean, like you haven't had any of the processed junk, you haven't been doing a lot of sugar or alcohol, you've been eating mostly Fitme plates, and then you have 2 or 3 days in a row that aren't that awesome, get some paper out and write down how you feel. Like check in with your body. Are you pooping normally? Because oftentimes that changes big time when we incorporate those kind of foods. How do your joints feel? Do your knuckles feel normal? Like, do you have any old aches and pains that are kind of like popping up? How does your like, guts feel? Not just like the pooping part, but do you feel bloated? Do you feel like, how does your stomach feel? Do you feel normal? And again, you might feel nothing. That's okay too, but check in and use it almost like a learning experience. Okay. Now I know when I have pizza for 3 days in a row, this is how I feel. And then you can remove some of the guilt associated with it and just think to yourself, okay, like if your car takes premium, I don't know. I'm not a car person. So this is probably a stupid metaphor that my husband will be like, be quiet. But if your car takes premium and you put premium in all the time, and then one day you put a bunch of like rickety ass unleaded gas in it, and then it's not running very well for a couple days, like we're not like going to be all guilt about it. We just need to get back to the good stuff as soon as possible so that the machine can run the way it's supposed to. And so you can kind of pay attention and be like, well, I can get away with that for a day or two. But when that turns into 4 to 6 to 8 days, it doesn't work anymore for me. And that's going to inform how you enjoy vacations, by the way, because when you, what's wrong, G? When you go on vacations, you might make decisions like fully aware of, hey, I'm going to enjoy these treats, but I'm also going to have some Fitme plates because I don't want to feel like crap on my vacay. I want to feel pretty good through this whole time. And I know if I just go, full send pizza, then I'm not going to feel very good after 2 to 3 days. So I think that's a great takeaway too. Learn.
Christy, one thing I've noticed for treats, and this actually, I just noticed this in this last week, or just this weekend even, we went out to dinner. I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I just muted so Georgia wouldn't be loud.
Oh yeah, no worries. We went out to dinner, and this would be a treat for me. You know how they bring the warm bread basket with the fresh butter? And I thought, oh my gosh, yes, I want one of those rolls. This is going to be so good. And I got one out and I cut it open, put some butter on it, and I took a bite, and it was like, it just was. And normally, like, I would probably way overeat the bread. And I literally sat there and was like, yeah, this is not a very good treat. I didn't eat any more of it. It's kind of one of those things where other times I probably would have just kept eating it. But this time I just recognized that, it wasn't what I thought it was going to taste like. And so I was like, yeah, I don't actually want it, which is great. Doesn't happen all the time. But that was just one thing where I think after I've been eating, much cleaner and stuff, if it's not like a really great flavor or something that's just really fantastic. She's so cute.
She was saying hi. Paige, I didn't want her to interrupt though, Paige, because what you were saying was so important. I feel like once we start to think of it like treats and we do save it for occasions, then we're really looking forward to it and we really want to enjoy it. So we're much more like present with it. And when it's not it, it's like, nah, not gonna feel like I just had sugar for this when it's not that good. Or like so I love that you shared that page about the bread. It just didn't do it for you. And so why have it be a treat then?
Christy, I've actually removed, I no longer allow myself to have the processed stuff. So if it's not homemade or from some kind of a gourmet bakery, I'm just not interested. And I've noticed that when I taste it every now and then, it just doesn't taste good. Like a honey bun. I used to love them. I don't know what the hell is wrong with those things now, but they almost just taste fake. So that's what has helped me because you don't come across on a daily basis homemade goodness. So you can find the junk all over the place. But a gourmet or homemade cake, a homemade pie, I'm not turning that down. But I rarely ever, it's not like it's something I'll see weekly. So the other stuff, it's easy to avoid once I got myself out of eating it.
I love that. And your taste buds do change. I think, Natika, I've told you that before, that if you remove, especially processed junk food, but sweet treats in particular, if you remove them for a while, they do not taste the same when you bring them back. And you can definitely taste a difference between that versus something that is homemade. And I think that's a really good strategy. I think that's like a good boundary that you created for yourself. And I think flip those honey bun packages over. You'll see why it doesn't taste good if you check the ingredients.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Melanie.
So in our Marco Polo group, we talked about around Christmas time, hell yeah treats. Like what are you gonna, you're gonna have a treat because you're gonna go to Christmas parties and stuff. And what are your hell yeah treats? And at work, we have a lot of people that bring in cupcakes, and they're usually just like grocery store cupcakes, nothing fancy or anything like that. But so I usually try to avoid things that I can just like easily get myself. But this one of my technicians brought in a Smith Island cake, and I had never heard of that before the other day, and I was like, well, let me check this out.
Yummy.
Yeah. So it's like 8 or 9 layers of cake with thin frosting between the layers, and it was just like this decadent looking cake, and I was like, this is fantastic looking. I have to at least try it because I'll probably never have it again. And they only make it in this one place in the country, and I'm having it. I'm going to try it. It's not a grocery store cupcake. It's something that I can never probably have again, so I'm going for it. It's my hell yeah treat.
I muted myself. Was it worth it? Was it so good?
Totally. It was so good.
Smith Island cakes are amazing.
I probably should have had a bigger piece, but I was really trying.
I love that share. That's so good too. If it's not like I'm so pumped about it, then maybe you don't really want it. And I love it. Like that's a phrase that somebody has shared. I know in the Marco Polo group, but I've heard it other places too. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. And it's like, that's a helpful way to think about those kind of things sometimes. I love that. And Smith Island cakes are bomb. If you guys ever get to the Maryland area, get yourself some. Brenda, you just unmute yourself then? She's like, I don't know how to raise my hand.
I'm like clicking all over, like I've not figured it out yet. So actually if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. That is like recurring and a good mindset. And not even just for food. We've talked about it like with clothes or doing something or, whatever, but it really does help with food. And former coworker of mine, kind of along the same lines like Natika was talking about, and Melanie, like a lot of times I think the workplace is a hard thing, or parties, but having the food around, like a cupcake from the grocery store is a cupcake from the grocery store. And some people may love those, but if you're trying to do your 80 or 90%, she would say, I can get a donut, I can get a cupcake, what's being served is like the grocery store type or not special. Like you can have that anytime you want. It's not special, but like Natika and Melanie said, the unique, that's like a really good treat. And then making sure you enjoy every bite. We've talked about that. And when you were talking about like talk to your coach or like your accountability buddy, I think it's good in this community, and it just hit me as you were talking, that talk about food more, not incessantly, but like there is no judgment. And the hardest thing I think is for us, and like you said, we think it's bad, like it was this really special thing, but I had this cake and I feel guilty about it, even though I made that conscious decision. But if we talk about it, Marco Polo or however, with our coaches or with our accountability buddy, it's more normalized. And so we can all feel better about it, and we can hear
it's time to go upstairs.
all of it. Like the more we hear it, that it's okay, and we don't have that feedback that's in our head, that makes it easier to talk about and then to, work through. And especially with an accountability buddy.
Yeah, you're right. And I think again, if it's an occasional thing, it's like having other people to talk that through with can be really helpful. On the other hand, having your coach to kind of talk you through, like, are the treats coming up too much for your goals? And just having, again, without judgment, like talking that through, so that you can make really empowered decisions about it. Megan, your hand was up, I think.
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to say, for me, kind of starting off this week, I having a beer on a Friday night is probably one of my biggest struggles right now, just because it's out of habit. So I substituted non-alcoholic for this week and hope to just kind of wean slowly, but that seemed to kind of at least redirect my thinking for right now. But it's tough to change everything at once. So
It is.
that substitute.
And I'm so glad you're here, and I'm glad you like shared a win from your first week. I think like a substitute for something that's sort of like, I mean, did you feel like that's something that is like your favorite thing of the week that you're swapping, or is it just like a habit?
A little bit of both, but like I think that I thought that it was one of my favorite things, but it's definitely more of a habit. It's definitely turned into more of a habit. So the alternative worked great.
Mm-hmm. I think it's such an honest share too, because there's some things that we say are our favorite things, like we have to have, but they're also a habit. And at the end of the day, if we don't have full, not that we need to have full control, but at the end of the day, we should be able to decide like, nah, I'm not going to have it. And it shouldn't be a big thing. Or we can say, yeah, I really want to have that. It's going to be awesome. And it be not a big thing. That's sort of us just taking ownership over those pieces. And so it's really good for you to, what I would consider what you're doing right now is flexing that muscle. You are like exercising the muscle of like, I don't have to have that every single Friday. I can swap it and still be happy, or I can say I don't need it. Or if I'm really pumped about it and we go somewhere and I want to have like a beer, I'm going to have it. So I really like it. So thanks for sharing that, Megan. I know there's a handful of you guys on here that are here for the first time. And so welcome, by the way, I should say at the beginning, but we're so, so glad that you're here and that and every single one of you that's on this call. I feel like take this information, go into your week and think to yourself, okay, like if this is about me figuring out what things are, like I'm so pumped about this treat, then think about those. And then what are the things in your life that are just sort of a habit, but you like it, but you're like, it kind of throws me off. What are the things for you that just don't work for you? It's just like, hey, when I have this, it throws me off for like a week and I'm just not. And again, nobody is going to tell you you can't have it. At the end of the day, you get to decide. You get to decide what works for you and what doesn't. How does your body feel when you do certain things? And how does it feel when you do other things? And then make decisions with that open, like clear mind about how you want to feel. And if you need help, if you're like, I really don't want to have this sugar, but I just keep doing it, then just ask for some help, because that's what we're here for. Raquel said that in the chat, not keeping treats in the house and having to physically leave to get one has made a huge difference. This is so big. I was talking to a friend and he's been grieving. He's really having a hard time. But sugar became a really big thing, a part of his grieving process. And that change is what's working for him. It's not that he can't have it. It's just that he's going to have to go out to go get it, is what I suggested to him. And it's working. And so it's a really helpful strategy, because you have to go out of your way then. Okay. One last comment and then we'll wrap it up. Linda.
So sometimes when I'm wanting to have a special treat, what I will implement is something I call my first and last bite. So I don't know, someone wants to order chocolate cake or what have you, and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to have a bite of that. So you have a bite and you're like, the first bite always tastes the best, at least it does for me. And kind of like all those bites in between are like, you just keep doing it because you're like on autopilot. So I have my first bite, I enjoy it. And then I'm like, of course I want one more, and that's going to be my last bite. Now, am I perfect at this? No, but it has worked many times in the past.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a good, it's a really good like personal rule too, because our personal, I don't know, thing, that reminder maybe, or a rule of thumb, right? But there's studies that show that our enjoyment of treats actually goes down after the second bite. So Linda's thing that she does is kind of accurate. Our brains don't even love it as much as that first bite. That's why that first bite tastes so good. And so even just tuning into that, where do you feel satisfied? and sharing a treat is a great way to kind of put that in check. So such a good conversations, especially relevant for summertime. Super, super relevant, and guaranteed we've got stuff coming up. There's treats to be had, and you should be able to incorporate those into your healthy lifestyle. And then using these skills, flexing these muscles, and, you know, exercising, I don't know, empowerment. Again, it's not really control. It's more just knowing what you want and making proactive choices for that. So thanks guys for plugging in. Let's do a quick pick. So throw your video on if it's been off, and let's take a quick picture. Let's see everybody's faces. Okay, hang on. Let me give everybody one more second. All right, perfect. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Sweet guys, have a wonderful week. If you need anything, just reach out and we'll talk soon. Bye.